Hello, my name's Dwayne. I'm the host and producer of the Discover Montcalm Podcast, and today my guest is going to take us on a little trip. And that trip is going to take us across the USA and then a little north. We'll be right back with Rob from the Montcalm County Road Commission right after this.
We would like to thank M1063, WGLM, FM, M1063.com. West Michigan Technology and Design Solutions is your local source for managed IT, websites design and hosting. Check them out at WMTDS.com.
At Business Growth Engine, Stephen and his team support businesses through automation and streamlined processes. Go to buildergrowthengine.com.
DW Video transfers your home movies, slides, audio, and videotapes to digital. They produce and design websites, create business and social media videos, TV commercials, and family storytelling videos. Visit dwvideo.com to learn more. Welcome to the Discover Montcalm Podcast, where we are going to look at the communities, the businesses, the attractions, and the people that make up Montcalm County. Here is your podcast host, Dwayne Weed.
Hello again, and welcome back to the Discover Montcalm Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, as well as discovermontcalmpodcast.com. You can catch us on iHeart, Pandora, and Apple if you want to check out the audio feed that we've got. My guest today is somebody from the Montcalm County Road Commission. I have Rob Putnam. He's the managing director. I'll probably refer to him as the director as we go through this. But welcome to the show, Rob.
Thanks, Dwayne. I really appreciate you having me on the podcast today.
Well, I'm hoping to learn a little bit about what you do, because you just have trucks that go out and grade things, right?
Right, yeah.
I think it's a little more complicated.
It is. We do a variety of things from all the way from sign, guardrail. We do culvert replacement, gravel roads. We blade gravel roads. We put down new gravel. We do limestone, crush and shapes. So taking your asphalt roads, mill them up, pulverize them, put them back to brand new asphalt. We do overlays, chip seal, which our chip seal program is probably ranks right up there with how many miles we do as anybody in the state of Michigan.
Okay.
We do a variety of things at the Road Commission.
Let's jump right into that fun fact. You corrected me because I had part of it right, but I didn't have it all right. Every time it snows, the roads in Montcalm County are equivalent to driving from where to where?
So it's equivalent to driving from Montcalm County to Los Angeles, California, and then up to Seattle, Washington. That's with 3,300 lane miles that we maintain every time it snows. And our goal, if the snow stops and it's not crazy windy, is within 24 hours, everybody will have been serviced with their roads.
With that being said, how many numbers of trucks do you have currently in your fleet?
So we have 40 hourly employees that we will put on the road. We have 5 designated state trucks, 2 that cover 131, and then they cover also 46 and 91 out of Howard City Garage. Our Stanton facility has a liquid route, which is a pilot program that we're doing through MDOT. So it is only liquid. We do not use any granular salt. It's all calcium chloride with some ag byproducts in there, like beet heat. So and we have that program. That's from Stanton down to the Ionia County line, 12 miles there that we
just testing it now.
Yep, it's been a 5-year pilot. This is the last year that we'll be doing the pilot, but we're going to continue with the liquid program.
It's working well.
It is. Yep,
it's working.
Certain situations it works great, which that was the whole thing, was kind of to see, getting away from environmental things and learning how, if it's cheaper, if you can do it cheaper. So, yeah, and then Greenville also has a state route. So,
okay, that you kind of jumped into one of my questions, because I was curious how it worked between county roads and state roads, and you already answered that. So you've got trucks that are allocated for just those routes.
Yep.
Because that's part of that travel time from here to California up to Washington.
Yeah.
So let's start with winter. We kind of talked a little bit about it now. You have different challenges as it goes on. You know, each season probably brings along something a little different. Why don't we start in the wintertime? What are some of the biggest challenges from the road commission? I mean, obviously snow, ice, that type of thing. But can you answer that?
Some of the biggest challenges are a lot of times is when the snow is falling. If it's falling first thing in the morning, people are trying to go to work, kids trying to go to school. That's a challenge to try to keep the roads, safe for everybody to get around. And then that afternoon rush to get people home from work, and activities that they had. So, and then you throw in the wind. I mean, probably the wind is the biggest challenge that the road commission deals with.
South of me.
Yep.
South of me, that nice farm country that we're around.
Yes, and it's the wind blowing across, it's so tough because with the wind, you could have the sun shining, and when that snow blows across the road, that road is being warmed up, and then it's instant ice. We have a few spots in the county that are just, they're so hard to keep clear because of the wind and stuff. But, them are probably the biggest challenges. But, we try to have our guys in at 3 or 4 in the morning, get them treated to cover that. And then we'll usually stay till, if it's still snowing, 8 o'clock. We like to get our guys off the road by 8 o'clock at night.
Sure.
Get them home, get a little rest before they'd have to come back in the next morning.
I noticed this year, and I've seen it many times, as you mentioned, the wind is a big factor. And I can sit right here and watch it go right across the field. Right across the road, and my road goes from being wide to down to a 2-track. One thing I noticed that when you finally get caught up, there's usually a truck that'll come by and go farther into the lane, keeping more availability to push that drift back farther.
Yes.
But you got to get caught up first.
Yeah, we do. And since the addition of the wings on the truck, that's really helped us be able to get the snow back on the backside of the ditch so that with the drifting does come, it's not always just right at the edge of the road where the hazards are. So them have made a big thing. But, yeah, a lot of times it's just we're just making laps, just trying to keep the main line of the road open. But, yeah, wind is probably our biggest, and obviously ice, freezing rain. We had one instance this winter was not even on the radar. But all of a sudden, here it is, midnight, freezing rain, ices everything up. Got to get guys in, get things salted. So, yeah, them are probably the two biggest challenges that we see. I'd rather have a foot of snow than any ice. So, yes.
Ice is equalizing. Matter of fact, it was the ice and then a bunch of snow. The one time that a snowplow got stuck on my road.
Oh.
And it was... hit the drifts. It was a lot of drifts, but when it hit it, it slowed it down, and then the ice underneath, it was like, wow, I'm not going that way.
Yeah.
If the snowplow is, stuck.
Yeah.
So let's jump into spring. We were talking about let's go through the different seasons and some of your different challenges. So in the spring, what are some of the challenges that you face at the Road Commission?
The biggest thing in the spring that we face is depending how much frost is in the ground. So as the frost is coming out, it makes the roads wet, makes them have mush spots. So the biggest thing that we have a challenge with is when there's frost in the road, if we drive our heavy trucks on it to try to blade them, and we understand, we all live on and drive them roads, that they get rough. But until a lot of that frost is gone, if we go in there and blade it and mix it up, we'll have to close roads because they'll become mud bogs.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing, we understand there is some rough and there is a little stretch in there where it takes a little bit, but
it slowed me down.
Right. Yes.
Because all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm going really slow because it was that little rocking back and forth. But then as soon as the frost and that was out, you're back on it, and now we're back to being smooth again for a minute.
Yeah. And some good warm rains and stuff help that out. But it's just, the hardest part is, we understand, people live on them roads. We get it. But it's just we're trying not to make it so that you can't get home, because if we take our big heavy trucks and our graders and stuff down them, then they'll rut them up and it'll be even worse for you.
And back in 1998, an interesting fact on my end, somebody told me from the road commission that my road was going to be paved by 2002 or 2004. Holding my breath. But things change.
They do.
Economy, I mean, there's a whole number of factors in that, and I sit on the fence. They already go fast enough down
Right.
the road. I don't need to have a quarter-mile drag strip here either. So, I mean, I guess there's benefits to both.
Yeah, and and that's like the thing. A lot of it is, the road commission maintains. Excuse me. We have an MDOT contract, so we maintain all the state roads.
Why don't you start with the road? Take your drink.
Okay.
Yeah, because once it comes on, if you don't take care of it, and then I'll lead us into that. Let's see. How do I want to lead us into that? Well, actually, you could actually just start with. Yeah, by all means. we're in no hurry. I've got water, and I also have cough drops somewhere around here because sometimes I get a tickle that just does not go away. What were we were talking about?
Your road getting blacktop.
Okay. I'll start with that.
Okay.
An interesting fact, back in 1998, I was told by somebody at the road commission that by 2002, 2004, my road would be paved. I'm glad I didn't hold my breath, but I'm sure the economy and other factors kind of came into that. How do you determine if a road does get paved?
So there's 3 types of roads. So there's the MDOT system, which we have a contract with MDOT, so we maintain their roads. Then there's the county roads, which are county primaries. They're our responsibilities. We decide what work we're doing to them roads. And then your townships. So you live on a local township road. So any work that the town, like to pave your road, would have to be the township reaches out, says, I'd like this road paved. They do a contract with the road commission, and then
Okay.
for us to do the work. The road commission covers all the labor and equipment, and the townships do cover the material. It's part of Act 51, where half the money has
Okay.
to come from another source. So,
Yeah, I sit on the fence. They already use it as a drag strip. I'm afraid that if it was paved, it would have a white line, and a quarter mile later to have another white line, and then I would be the guy that you'd see on the news chained to my oak tree because it's probably too close, to meet regulations.
Right.
And I would be the guy that you'd say, oh, there's that crazy guy. But, it's my oak tree. That's, But anyways, we talked about winter. We talked about spring. What are some of your challenges in the summertime?
So summertime is when our crews are going full bore with all the projects we have going. And it depends, how many miles of chip seal we're going to do, because chip sealing takes probably 2/3 of our staff
Okay.
to do chip sealing. And then if we have roads that are getting rotomilled, we have to have grader operators getting them ready. We'll be graveling and limestoning at the same time. We have summer help kids that are doing crack sealing. So it's to organize 40 hourly employees to making sure that all the work's done. I mean, we have a great team that makes it super nice. Everybody works well together. So, but that's the challenges of working with contractors, keeping everybody moving, and keeping our operations running.
Because summertime is nice, and that's when you're getting, the guardrails and all of that
Yes.
other stuff updated. Okay, let's move into the fall. What are some challenges in the fall?
So fall time, rain. Usually, lately it hasn't been a lot of rain, but fall time is rain. We're trying to get, trucks switched back over to winter, kind of tidying up projects, making sure anything from the year is done. So that's probably the biggest thing in the fall.
So there's really no rest.
I got a cough. Sorry.
Yep. I'll start with, I guess there's no rest.
Lost my voice last week, and I don't know what the heck.
Oh, it's fine. So there's really no rest at the road commission. There's something going on all the time, and then, heaven forbid, something else happens that you have to change off your plan. we were talking before we went on about some other interesting facts. One of them I found interesting is during a time in 2025 in January, I think you said,
Yep.
how much fuel you went through during a 2-week period. Can you bring us up
Yeah,
to
so
date?
it was actually not 2024. We had that
Oh.
2-week stretch last
Okay.
year where it was bitter cold, wind. We worked 16 days straight. We went through $70,000 worth of fuel
in
2 weeks.
2 weeks. I think that bill,
Yeah,
and you can have a budget,
you can.
but you can't control Mother Nature.
You cannot.
So each time you get a bad snowstorm or you're out, you're salting, approximately how much does it cost for one trip around the sun, so to speak?
Yeah, one trip around the sun, if everybody was loaded with salt, would be $24,000. We do a lot of 50-50 with sand salt mix, but still that's $12,000 just for one application on the roads.
Right.
And that's not counting, it's about $6,000 an hour for labor and equipment on top of that. So
Right.
it's, yes, we like to make sure the road, and our top priority is making sure the roads are safe, but sometimes that's why we're playing the wind, and, so we're just not dumping material all the time. We're trying to be cost effective but safe as well.
Yeah. You were talking to me a little bit about, you did a presentation to Leadership Montcalm, and I noticed that you brought some facts in here. For those that are like, why isn't my road getting paved, or why isn't this happening? What are some other facts that you can share with the listeners about what the Road Commission is all about and some interesting facts?
The biggest thing is the price. Like the cost of everything, and everybody knows they go to the store and everything else, but, like for us to do an asphalt overlay, so if your road's already blacktop, we just put another course on top. In 1997, that was $28,000. This year, it's going to be $90,000.
Wow.
So it's a 310% increase.
Mm-hmm.
Chip seal is another thing that we do a lot of. For our chip seal, fog seal, in 1997, for $100,000, we could do almost 18 miles of road. This year, 4.5.
So what is chip seal?
Chip seal is where we put the tar down, then the stone, and then
Okay.
we put the tar back on top.
Yeah. I was wondering, but I guess I'm here to ask the question if somebody's out there is going, what is chip seal? Okay.
And, we do get the question because our chip seal program is really kind of evolved into, like, we might pave a road one year. Our whole idea is within 2 years is to chip seal that,
Okay.
which adds another 5 to 10 years of life to that road at the end of its, life cycle of the asphalt.
Well, if you can save my tree, chip seal would be fine out here.
Right, yeah. Yes.
What else? What other things would you like to share while we have you here?
Like salt, for instance, and you heard me say it, but salt in 1997 was $28 a ton. It's $80 a ton this year. So it's all of them things which, diesel fuel in 97, 89 cents. We pay $2.80 a gallon. All them costs, yes, everybody wants their road paved or new gravel
Right.
on it, but, with the way the cost is and everything going up, that makes it even tougher for, we're doing less miles with less money. So.
Right. Well, it's a constant. And then again, you get nailed with 3 to whatever weeks of a heavier winter than normal.
Yep.
That, you thought you had enough piled away. All of a sudden now you're like, oh, people want to get out of their driveways. We gotta do things. So that's interesting. Anything else?
A little bit like, so your gas tax. This is a big thing where our MTF money comes from. So your gas tax, when you go to the pump, that's what helps in your part of your registration. Well, in 1997, when we were driving, our cars got 6 miles of the gallon. So people were using more fuel. Where today, now they're getting 30, 40 miles a gallon. So it's less fuel bought, which means it's less money, that's coming back to the Road Commission. So as time has went, we've gotten, better economy on our cars. That means less fuel is being purchased, which in turn means less money that goes towards the Road Commission.
Even though the price of the gas is
Yeah, we only get a certain percentage no matter what.
That doesn't change.
Right.
So it's not like, well, we're already paying
Correct.
X. It doesn't change coming back to you.
Yes.
So, we're kind of, I know I'm thankful that you do what you do and I can get out, and I don't mind that. Hey, I've learned that when it's a bad storm, I don't go to the south unless I want to get my Explorer out, put it in four-wheel, and try to go to the south. I tried a few years ago. I got out, but I went never again because it was an interesting ride that last little bit.
Oh, I bet.
And, I'm lucky I've got neighbors with skid steers and tractors, but I don't want to humble myself and say, hey, I was stupid. I should have went to the north instead of going south. Real quick, how long have you been on the job at the road commission?
So I've been the manager for 2.5 months.
Okay.
So I've been there 27 years. I started summer help.
Yep.
Got let go at the end of the summer. Got hired back as a greaser, night greaser. Worked nice greaser job. Then I was on the culvert crew for a couple years. Then I went to the sign shop, and I was sign shop foreman for about 20 years.
Okay. So you've physically have gone through a lot of the different jobs that are
Yep.
there. So you've been there, done that.
Yeah. Yep.
You got the T-shirt, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice. So we're in 2025 right now in March. So February you came on?
I came on in January 1st.
Oh, January.
But I worked under Mark Christensen, was our managing director for the last 12 years. I worked under him for a year, and then once he decided he was going to retire. So it's been a smooth transition. Obviously there's going to be some new things, but yeah, so far the move has been smooth, and we're getting ready for a busy year.
Different day.
Yep.
Different challenge. That's never going to change.
Right.
We talked a little bit again. When you before, you're not originally from around here, are you?
No.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Charlotte. Lived there till I was 18. Met my wife up here. Actually, her dad drove race car for my aunt and uncle, and that's how we met. And just liked this area up here, so moved up here and started working at the road commission. And we got 2 beautiful daughters, and one's in college and one works for the Postal Service in Greenville. So it's great.
It's wonderful. I ask almost everybody this question: what is it about Montcalm County that you like?
I like the small town. I like the people. I'm a people person. I like to talk to people. And, I mean, it seems like, especially in this job, you meet so many new people, and it doesn't matter if I'm in Howard City, Stanton, Vestaburg, people are willing to talk. And, I just like the rural set. It's out. Yeah. I just enjoy that part of it.
Where we're at, I know in Howard City, where we're at here, easy access to the expressway.
Mm-hmm.
I can go north south for a half hour, 40 minutes, and I can hit another big town.
Yep.
Or 2.5, 3 hours, I'm at the bridge.
Yeah.
So the easy access to things. Any last thought that you could leave us with, or a question that I didn't ask that you'd like to make sure that
I think the biggest thing that I would like to leave people with is, when you see the road commission trucks, like there's the new laws out there, is to give us room. It's we're trying our best. I would love for everybody to be able to sit in that driver's seat one time and see, but it's just give our guys a little bit of space and just understand that we are out there, doing our best, and just to be cautious and patient with us.
And when you're
times.
pushing snow, that's a lot of torque. That's a lot of, and you can't stop right away. So please back up. And if you're sanding or you're salting or whatever you're doing, you're throwing it a ways.
You are.
So if they want to drive on a non-slippery road, back up. Otherwise, you might get pelted. And it's not that you're trying.
No.
That's just the way it works.
Yep.
So thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us all the things that the Road Commission does. And I'm sure there's things that we didn't get into, but I like the fact, and one of the reasons I really like this podcast is that I get to learn things about people that I didn't know before we talked.
I really appreciate you having me on. It's always nice to get more information out there to the public.
So I'm Dwayne, host and producer of the Discover Montcalm Podcast. Again, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Check out all our videos. Go to discovermontcalmpodcast.com. Grab the RSS feed. Put it in your favorite podcast browser. You can catch us on Pandora, Apple, and I always forget one. Pandora, Apple, iHeart. There we go. It doesn't roll off the tongue as easy as it used to.
Right.
But if you are part of this community, you run a business, you live here, and you'd like to share your story, a little history about the county, give me a call, 231-250-9624. I'd love to tell your story. And on that, remember to buy and shop locally.
Connect and follow the Discover Montcalm Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Check out all our episodes at discovermontcalmpodcast.com. We look forward to featuring your business, community, nonprofit, events, and more. Contact Dwayne at 231-250-9624, 231-250-9624. Thank you for tuning in and following the Discover Montcalm Podcast.